Hi, and thanks for joining me. I have an article I wrote here that I think you're really going to enjoy. It's called If You Don't Have Your Health, You Don't Have Anything. So, here goes. When I was a kid growing up on the farm, some of my mother's words of wisdom were, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. I was a very active kid with boundless energy. I'd ride my pony around the pasture for hours at a time, climb apple trees in the orchard, and play endless games of cowboys and Indians with my sister and other farm kids on the edge of the cornfields. So, those words didn't exactly connect with me at the time. But little did I know that in later years, as an adult, her words would ring true and come back to haunt me. I'd come to find out that she was right. But how in the world back then could I have ever known where my journey on the road of life would take me? I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis in 1988. As the disease progressed and gradually got worse, I began slipping into the secondary progressive stage somewhere around 1996. By 97, MS had taken control of my life. I couldn't walk without a cane or assistance, couldn't safely drive my car anymore, and I looked like a skeleton. I was fast losing motor control over my entire body, and just plain ordinary muscle movements were sometimes very difficult. My speech was affected, and my vision was getting worse all the time, and I was constantly in a lot of pain, and I was very, very scared. In 1998, I was formally diagnosed as being in the secondary progressive stage of multiple sclerosis. My doctor prescribed a garden variety of powerful medications to combat the disease, a pharmaceutical cocktail of 6 or more highly potent drugs. My doctor also told me not to expect to live to be an old lady, and he increased my medication. I had no logical reason to believe in the possibility that I wasn't doing the right thing to help myself. Then by 1999, I was bedridden half the time. I could barely walk, so I gave away my shoes. I sold my car. I left my house only for doctor's office visits. By this time, we were talking about things like wheelchairs and home nursing care, and again, my doctor increased my medication. Then I started having seizures, bad ones, and I got to take rides in the ambulance to the hospital. For all intents and purposes, my life was over. Back then, I knew nothing about natural healing or alternative medicine. Not really. I believed everything my doctor told me. But by this time, I knew it was now or never. If I was going to do something different, I had better do it now. And I refused to just give up. I wanted to live, and I knew that now I had nothing else left to lose. It took a lot of time, patience, and a strong, iron-willed determination to stick with it, along with the indomitable desire to get rid of this monster disease and take my life back. But make no mistake about it, it was a long, arduous, and very difficult day in and day out struggle. In short, at the time, it seemed a lot like I was trying to single-handedly turn the Titanic around in rough high seas, facing a gale-force wind. No easy feat. But that's the bad news. The good news is that the progression of my MS could be slowed down and eventually stopped. And I did it. Now, throughout this process, I learned some very interesting facts. For one thing, I didn't know that what today we call alternative healing has actually been practiced for thousands of years. Except back then, they didn't call it alternative. There was nothing alternative about it in those days. Fact is, that was all there was, just plain old natural, straight from Mother Nature herself, and there were no other alternative choices to healing and curing disease. But that was long before the pharmaceutical industry was born, and its drugs hadn't been invented yet. So people used the only things that were available to them, natural plants and herbs that have been curing illnesses and made people whole again, and have been growing right here on planet Earth since the beginning of recorded time, and who knows, maybe even before that. It dawned on me that maybe these plants and herbs might just have been put on this earth for a greater reason, to serve humanity. I mean, there are countless historical references to their powerful healing properties that sometimes even produce miraculous results, but there are even stories along these lines in the Holy Bible. And to me, that makes perfect sense, because I believe we were not put on this earth to try and survive at a random throw of the dice, or good luck versus bad luck. Oh, sure, things like basic herd instinct, survival of the fittest, come into play as part of the human condition, and there's plenty of that going around, but tucked away neatly within the bigger picture of life around us, there's a greater support system built in that's as natural and beautiful as our very own lives and magnificent planet we live on. And it's all around us. It's there for the asking, and it's there for the taking. And I was fortunate enough to find it and apply it. And I'm convinced because of that I'm alive and well today. Because for me, there is finally no more MS. And when I stop and reflect in quiet moments every now and then, I can hear the echo of my mother's voice reminding me that if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Today, I can connect with those words of wisdom and truly understand their meaning. So thanks, Mom. It's been a long, hard journey, and I hope I've learned this lesson well. The information I'm talking about here is for informational purposes only, and not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use any of this information for diagnosis or treatment of any health problem or for prescription or of any medication or other treatment. You should consult with a healthcare professional before starting any diet, exercise, or supplementation program, before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. And you should not stop taking any medication without first consulting your physician. Until next time, I'm Sue Ellen Dickinson.